We continue to follow breaking news regarding Texas politician Colin Allred. He is announcing that he is dropping out of the U.S. Senate race and will instead challenge Julie Johnson for the newly redrawn 33rd Congressional District. Now, this is the latest move in what has been a game of political dominoes that started taking shape after the Supreme Court's redistricting ruling last week. So let's listen in to that announcement.
When I first got involved with public service, I decided to run for Congress here in Dallas, in the district where I was born and raised. And it just so happened that there was a 22-year incumbent Republican who was there, and nobody thought we could win that race. And with a lot of hard work and a lot of folks from across this area, we were able to be successful. And I've always tried to keep in mind what I think is best for the folks who gave me a chance to chase my version of the American dream. I was raised here by a single mother, was a public school teacher. I went to public schools here in Dallas. My kids are in public school here in Dallas. This is our home. And this is the place that gave me a chance to go to Baylor and become captain of the team, to play in the NFL, become a civil rights lawyer, and to serve in the Obama administration and in Congress. And I felt that in the context of this Senate race, that there's a certain responsibility that comes with folks placing their trust in you and believing in you enough to follow you. But also, everywhere I went around the state, people would come up to me and tell me their stories, and they tell me about their hopes and their dreams and their struggles. And more than you would think, they would break down crying while they were doing that. And I think about some of the folks who told me their stories, like the small business owner in San Antonio who has a coffee shop, who told me about his daughter who has epilepsy and how he's worried about, because they have their health care through the Affordable Care Act exchanges, he's worried about the costs going up even more. Or the young woman in Corpus Christi who, after I was shucking oysters, she's a waitress there, she just came up to me and started telling me her story and just started crying and saying she was hoping to go back to school, but she started working because she had to pay some bills, and she just kept working and she couldn't stop. But seeing me, she thought that maybe she'd have a chance to go back to school now, and she wanted to talk about that. That responsibility means that I have to do what's best for the state, and in this case of a time when Donald Trump is daily putting at risk all of the things that we care most about, daily violating the Constitution, that we can't afford to go into this election divided. And so I made the difficult decision to end my Senate campaign, but the, in many ways for me, joyous decision to come home to Dallas and to continue to try and serve my home and my community. And I would go into the Congress immediately as one of the strongest voices, not only in the state but in the country, to stand up to what Donald Trump is doing, yes, but also to speak some hard truths to the Democratic Party about some of the reforms that we have to put in place, about getting big money out of politics, about ending corruption, about reconnecting and focusing more on working people and affordability and what's going on for folks who are going through right now what I went through growing up. The Democratic Party has been seen in some cases as being too elite, too disconnected, and that is something that I want to correct and address. And we have to make sure that we restore faith in government. We restore faith that we can actually do big things. And that's what I want to try and do here in Dallas. So I'm happy to be here, and I want to say to the people of the 33rd District, this is a district that, in terms of the lines of it being drawn, should not exist. Let's be very clear. Donald Trump has attempted to racially gerrymander the state of Texas, and with the Supreme Court's help, he's been successful. In doing so, they've also eliminated a Democratic seat in Dallas, leaving us with less representation. That means that we have to have the best players on the field to actually go to Congress and to fight back. We'll have fewer voices there, but we can have stronger ones, and I will be that voice. And so to the folks of the 33rd District, which includes the place where I was born and raised, and where I saw my mom struggling growing up, and where so many of the events of my life have taken place that have allowed me to do what I've done, I want to say I'm asking humbly for your support and to be your representative in Congress.
That'll take a good question. Congressman, I was curious as to how emotional was this decision for you and your family, and why run for the 32nd Congressional District? Why go back to Congress, and why not run for another statewide office. You've been traveling the state. This would be your second statewide visit.
Yeah. Well, I always approach this perspective trying to do what I think is best as a public servant. And I prayerfully thought about how I could best serve in this moment. And I thought that a bruising primary and runoff that would have been guaranteed was not in the best interest of the state. And I also thought that, as I said, that folks have placed their trust in me over the years, and that with that trust comes a certain level of responsibility to do what's best for them. But that I could also continue to serve in a different way. And that I have important insights and important experience to bring back to Congress, to go in with much more knowledge, energy, and focus even than I did last time. And we got a lot done in my first 6 years in Congress. But I'm going in not just to leave things as they are. I want to shake it up. This Congress has completely abdicated its responsibilities. It's forgotten that it's Article 1 of the Constitution that deals with the Congress. They have completely, I think, left the American people wondering if there's any leadership at all out there. And I'm going to go into Congress with the help of the folks here, and if I'm so honored to be there to be our nominee, as somebody who will be there to shake things up and to speak some hard truths to everyone, and to say, let's fix these things, let's get this back on the right track, and let's do it as well as we can together.